मैं मुन्नी कुमारी आप सभी का आज के राष्ट्रीय शिक्षक संगोष्ठी 2023 में पुनः हार्दिक अभिनंदन करती हूँ। उपस्थित श्रोतागण, असम की मिट्टी की भीनी भीनी खुशबू और विविध पकवानों और स्वादिष्ट व्यंजनों के स्वाद को मन में बसाए अब हम पुनः प्रतिभागियों द्वारा शोध पत्र प्रस्तुतिकरण प्रक्रिया की तरफ आगे बढ़ते हैं। यहाँ मैं प्रत्येक प्रतिभागी को पुनः स्मरण करा दूं कि प्रस्तुतिकरण के लिए सभी प्रतिभागियों को 10 मिनट का समय दिया जाएगा। आप सभी प्रतिभागियों से अनुरोध है कि वे दिए गए समय सीमा का पालन करें। इस बार की प्रस्तुति का उपविषय है किशोरावस्था से संबंधित मुद्दों का संबोधन तथा सीखने की अक्षमता वाले छात्रों की शिक्षा को सुविधाजनक बनाना। कार्यक्रम को आगे बढ़ाने से पहले मैं आप सभी से एक विशेष जानकारी यहाँ साझा करना चाहूंगी। इस राष्ट्रीय शिक्षक संगोष्ठी में प्रस्तुत किए जा रहे सभी शोध पत्रों को एक वैज्ञानिक समिति ने अंध समीक्षा यानी कि ब्लाइंड रिव्यू के अंतर्गत चुना है, जो अपने आप में एक अभूतपूर्व बात है। अतः आगे बढ़ते हुए मैं हमारी आज की तकनीकी सत्र 2 की पहली शोध पत्र प्रस्तुतिकरण के लिए आमंत्रित करती हूँ डिम्पल।
The very first thing I want to share, basically I'm from Darbhanga, Bihar, it's in Bihar. Myself, Dr. Dimple Saraswat. So before coming to this session, I was so curious about all the things, that how it's going to happen, what will be there, मैं जिनसे मिलने वाली हूँ या जिनसे भी इंटरेक्शन होगा वो कैसा रहेगा. But it's just my experience of this today's session. आज बहुतों से interact करने को मिला. I interacted with many people and I found ये जो टॉपिक है गाइडेंस एंड काउंसलिंग का, इट्स वेरी इम्पॉर्टेंट, ना कि सिर्फ हम लोगों के लिए बल्कि हर एक गार्जियन, पेरेंट्स, टीचर्स, एजुकेटर्स सभी के लिए. वो क्योंकि जब स्टूडेंट्स हमारे पास आते हैं अपनी समस्या लेके, व्हेन दे कम टू अस एंड दे शेयर, तो पहला हमारा जो एक्सपीरियंस होता है, लाइक द फर्स्ट थिंग what we do, the first thing mostly we ignore, and I believe that you will believe on this point. The first thing we say to our students, अच्छा ठीक है, कोई बात नहीं, सब ठीक हो जाएगा and everything, right? But the point is that we should not do this. We should continue what we actually बिलीव. ये जो पूरा सेशन है वो एडोलेसेंस पे है, मेंटल हेल्थ पे है. तो लाइक देयर वाज अ टाइम जब हम भी एडोलेसेंस फेज में होंगे, और जब हम एडोलेसेंस फेज में हम खुद को एक्सपीरियंस कर रहे होंगे और उस समय जो भी प्रॉब्लम्स, परेशानियां आ रही होंगी, बहुतों के साथ ऐसा हुआ होगा that they may not have got the proper solution for that. And after all those things, now we are on that level, that stage, which we can think and we can implement with our students. Okay, thank you for listening me. Now, I would like to start my presentation. So, once again, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, educators, esteemed colleagues, dignitaries on the dash of the dash. I'm honored to present a paper today that address the pressing issues related to adolescent psychological development in India in the 21st century under counseling and guidance. You know, the first thing to manage in the 21st century is what? Is all about managing the change. Here, the managing the change is the challenge in 21st century, and managing the change with the adolescents is actually the challenge with us. So my paper basically is on the issues related to the psychological development of the adolescents. So in a rapidly evolving world, understanding and addressing the unique challenges faced by Indian adolescents is paramount to their well-being and the future success. So dealing with all these topics, so here's the topic. So it's all about that in today's society, adolescence is a protracted developmental stage which typically lasts approximately 11 years or approximately 10 to 11 years. So Harley Stoll, a renowned psychologist and an educator, said that adolescence is just a period of great strain and storm. They have to deal with different situations where their relationships with their parents, their peer members, their counselors, their guardians is very important. Here, the parents can give emotional support. Peer educators can facilitate the information. And the counselor can also empower them to understand their well-being throughout the challenging period of transition. There are certain issues, psychological disorders, obsessive compulsive disorder, attention deficit hyperactivity disorders, which is commonly found these days among adolescents. वो कभी भी शांत नहीं बैठ रहे, उन्हें हर समय कहीं ना कहीं मूव करना है. They are super active just because of the stress, just because of that emotional damage which they are facing. So there are some developmental stages or the phases of adolescence. The first is early adolescence. Early adolescence, it's lasts for 11 to 14 age group students, and in this one, physiological transformation that render teenagers more susceptible to the way they are seen by others. If I ask, मैं कैसी लग रही हूँ? If the students ask, मेरा performance कैसा है? So we should always act positively. We should not say, oh no, you're not looking nice. अच्छा तुम्हारा परफॉर्मेंस ऐसा है, चलो ठीक है नेक्स्ट टाइम में ठीक हो जाएगा. नो, वी शुड नॉट say like this to them. So it's affect them because they are actually seen by us. वो अपने आप को हमारी नजरों से देख रहे होते हैं. The second, which is the middle adolescence, right? In this one, the age group lasts for 15 to 17, and during this time, socio-emotional changes, cognitive and the physical interpersonal connection, all these things they are experiencing. And when it comes to the late adolescence, it's all about where we need to develop the formal operational thinking among them. So here we need to foster independent decision making skills in them. With this, the certain objectives were collected in my research paper. It was what are the primary responsibilities of the school counseling services as perceived by the students. What is the frequency of classroom visits by school counselor, and what is the purpose of their visits? So many questions were asked among the students. And this study I continued because of the data available here. So as Sarita madam has already pointed out the data, where in India, adolescents have a large section of the population. They are approximately 243 million So you see the data, as it is the home to the largest number of adolescents. So, but not only that, in India, India has the highest youth suicide rate globally. So the survey which was done by the Manodarpan with NCRT and Department of Educational Psychology and Foundation of Education. The data was also shared by Madam Sarita, that where 29% students, they found lack of concentration, 45%, they are not happy with their body image. But above all, the data which was taken from approximately 4 lakh students, and if I say in round numbers, it is 3.79 lakh students. So in that, 81% blamed studies, exams, result, the main cause of anxiety. And not only this, to pursue all these things and to include in my research paper, I mentioned certain goals and some measures. And the goals which can find that the mental health awareness, life skill education, preventive measures, gender-related psychological challenges, community engagement. And just for the conclusion part, I would like to say that we need to have some recommendation to implement in our schools, in our communities, where integrated mental health education into the curriculum. We need to train more and more mental health professionals. Digital literacy is required for now. We need to promote the gender-sensitive education. And in my last words, I would like to say that as educators, policy makers, stakeholders, in the future of our youth, the psychological well-being of our adolescents, paving the way for a resilient, empowered, and emotionally healthy generation that will shape the destiny of our great nation. Thank you so much.
धन्यवाद डिम्पल मैम। अब मैं हमारे अगली प्रस्तुतिकरण के लिए मंच पर आमंत्रित करती हूँ आयरीन खोसला जी को, जो ईस्ट दिल्ली से हैं। उनके शोध पत्र का शीर्षक है द बडिंग माइंड्स प्रोग्राम, कल्टिवेटिंग एडोलेसेंस वेलबींग थ्रू पॉजिटिव साइकोलॉजी इंटरवेंशंस।
Namaskar everybody and a very good afternoon. I'm Irene Khosla, BGT Psychology, Sri Venkateshwar International School, and I'm also a PhD research scholar. My research here today is an attempt to answer ma'am's question that what is it that we're doing to help these adolescents. So I'm going to be presenting my paper, which is the Budding Minds Program, Cultivating Adolescent Wellbeing Through Positive Psychology Intervention. We focus a lot on holistic development. We focus on skill development, social emotional learning, but what about the psychological aspects of an adolescent's life? That is what I target through my study today, and I aim to assess the effectiveness of these interventions on the well-being of adolescents, and they have been assessed by assessing their level of gratitude, happiness, and subjective well-being. Now it is important to understand that we've had a major shift in our ideology. We don't just focus on treatment, we focus on prevention. We don't just focus on punishing students and scolding them, rather now we counsel and guide them. The same approach positive psychology follows. That is how we try to understand and see the pleasant and engaging and meaningful life that people live, focusing on 3 constructs, that is their positive emotions, their positive traits, and building positive institutions. So positive psychology interventions are how the tenets of this paradigm are put into practice. Now these practices aim at enhancing well-being, building resilience, making students, children, individuals more optimistic about their future prospects. They are grounded in research, they are theoretically based, they are preventive in nature. Moving forward are my other variables, starting with gratitude. It's very important to understand that gratitude is not saying thank you ma'am for handing me the clicker. Gratitude is appreciating the fact that I had to present and I had a clicker with me today. So to be able to acknowledge and appreciate the little things in life, even in the worst of situations, is gratitude. Moving on, the second variable is happiness. Happiness focuses not just on the feeling of joy and contentment, but having a meaning in life. It is a state. Next up is subjective well-being. Now, subjective well-being is divided into two components. The first is satisfaction with life, which is a cognitive appraisal or judgment that one makes about their own life circumstances. The second is affect, which is divided into two components, positive affect and negative affect. Positive affect is the experience of pleasant emotions, whereas negative affect is the experience of negative or unpleasant emotions. Now, why these positive psychology interventions in a school setting? They are gaining a lot of importance in today's day. So for one, they enhance well-being and positive health. They help in the prevention of mental illnesses and disorders. They empower individuals. They are leading to a shift in the focus where we can combine education and well-being together. And they promote not just individual but group and organizational health as well. We all take life skills classes. We all have well-being sessions in our school. Now, how are these interventions different from those? First of all, they focus on helping an individual recognize and enhance the positive experiences that they have. Apart from that, they also help them in realizing and recognizing that they can create these positive experiences. So why they are different? They are evidence-based, they are empirical, they are preventative, they focus on not just a vulnerable population or treatment, but they build resilience so that you're able to deal with the challenges you're faced with even before you know there's a challenge coming towards you. They are strength-based, they focus on your innate capabilities, they take a dynamic view of emotions. When we talk about positive psychology, it's imperative that we understand we're not saying negate negative emotions. They are an imperative part of our life. They are just meant to be dealt in, coped up with in an effective manner, which we do through these interventions. They are subjective, so they can be adapted, they can be flexible and modified for any and every age group and sample. They've shown substantial short-term and medium-term impact, leading to a broader scope of application and outcomes. Why adolescents now? That is something we've discussed, knowing that there are so many prevalent mental health issues that they are faced with. Literature review, I'll quickly go through this. Now, these interventions don't just focus on one aspect, right? Starting with, let's say, the psychological health of an individual, they help in enhancing their self-esteem, their confidence, helping them adopt a more positive attitude towards life, being more hopeful, and having better quality of life as well. Talking about how it helps in physical sphere, these individuals who have high traits of positive affect and well-being, they are less prone to illnesses, they're better at managing their stresses because these kind of traits help in buffering the effects of stress as well. In terms of school children, when we talk about their academic sphere, there is better learning, there is creative thinking, increased motivation, and better output in terms of their academic performance as well. The second part of my literature focuses on the kind of techniques that positive psychology uses. So your basic kind of traits and moods and attitudes. So for example, well-being, optimism, hope, gratitude, savoring, forgiveness, grit, all of these come under positive psychology. So activities too are based on them. So activities such as writing gratitude letters, character strengths, and savoring, maybe family tree, counting your blessings, they all help in again enhancing your well-being. Why this study and why again with adolescents? Number one, because we know that they are faced with so many challenges at this transitional period of their life. Why not empower them? We're living with a generation today where simple positive reinforcement or a praise is not enough. That strength has to not come from outside but within. So moving from external to internal validation is what these interventions help us to do. Secondly, because adolescence is a period marked with heightened learning and because they're in a school system, this learning of these traits and these strengths of their own becomes much easier. So for example, you as a teacher could be promoting their strengths. You wouldn't even realize that you're not talking to people, who are maintaining good well-being, but probably also someone who needed to hear that I am capable. And hence the importance of the study. So very basic analysis of research gap is that there is a dearth of studies in the Indian context that are focusing on adolescents and positive psychology interventions, and perhaps therefore also the lack of their implications in our country. Hypothesis, we had 5 hypotheses aiming to actually find a significant difference in a positive direction. Coming to the methodology, because this is an intervention-based study, We first conducted a pre-test of the 3 scales, so the students were given the scales. We then conducted the activities, and after that, again, a post-test was taken to see whether in the self-report there was any difference in the traits and characteristics or not. The sample was school students, so we had a sample of 60 students belonging to grade 9th and 10th. They were taken from a private school in Delhi, comprising of both males and females to ensure diversity. After inclusion, the sample came down to 45, so students who didn't attend all sessions or didn't fill the questionnaires completely were excluded. They were a part of the intervention, but the data was not taken when we were taking out the result. Working with adolescents. Very important, ethical considerations were kept in mind. The students, the parents' consent was taken, students were informed of the study, debriefing was done, and students are given the opportunity that if they feel overwhelmed, counseling will be done. 2 more minutes. Tools, gratitude questionnaire, happiness, subjective well-being, and negative and positive affect. Now the intervention, the main part. 8-week intervention took place. We had 8 sessions, 45 minutes each session, based on the PERMA model. First initial 2 sessions were just a rapport building and telling them about the sessions. The second part where we actually did the core intervention. The third part wherein we took the feedback survey and the post-test. Now each intervention session started with an icebreaker activity, which was like an introduction to what will happen in the next activity based on our variables. After that, in every session, positive affirmations, which is another intervention, was followed with 3 good things wherein they had to maintain a gratitude journal to accept and acknowledge the good things in life. These were the different sessions we took without elaborating too much. For example, a friend in need was one where students were told to see themselves with the same eyes that they would see their friend when their friend is distressed. So when you relate to your friend in that way, why can't you speak to yourself with the same compassion and lack of judgment? For another example was gratitude. Now gratitude interventions usually focus on maybe writing a thank you letter or a thank you note and sharing it with someone. Here we focused on giving it to yourself. So remembering to appreciate and acknowledge your own self as well. Now results, the mean results, as you can see, there was a significant change in the mean, which is also visible from the t-test scores that we obtained. And in the gender feedback survey that we took from the students, they were all willing and appreciative of the activities as well. So analysis of results revealed that gratitude, happiness, subjective well-being, all 3 of them increased in the students after our interventions. So discussion, I think we can quickly skip through and understand that a lot of studies done in the Western context also support the same, that these kind of interventions are very helpful and beneficial in increasing adolescent well-being. Coming to the conclusion, I'm sorry, taking 2 minutes extra, I just want to share that the implication of these kind of interventions is not just explicit wherein you're doing them in programs, they can be implicit wherein you are teaching them these kind of activities through your educational curriculum and also at the same time can be incorporated for counseling. Now implications, in terms of the implications we saw for students, there was awareness, so destigmatization helped, there was self-awareness, there was reflection. We taught students how to be able to deal better with their challenges in life based on their own strengths. Then assisting students in having a positive way in which they communicate with their own selves, so your automatic thought of negative cycle is reduced a little, facilitating better self-control and emotion, and promoting a positive mindset and helping students understand that yes, you are responsible for your life outcomes and yes, you can control them and see life in a good way. Implication for educators is simply that it will not just help students, but it will also help you because you are also practicing these interventions. Like ma'am previously highlighted, you will be promoting a warm and empathetic environment for your students. Your relationship with them improve. You will see better academic performances as well. Ending it very quickly with how you can actually start applying this. First, my first suggestion is simply start with a gratitude journal. You could wake up every morning or before going to bed, simply write down 2 things that you feel grateful for, follow it for a few days and you see the difference. Next is positive self-talk. Remind yourself that even in the hardest time, there is something I can achieve. Even if I'm out of my time limit, at least I was able to stand here and present my PPT. So see the positive, see the strength within you to help you focus. Lastly, self-love is very, very important. Give yourself and your students that designated time. हम skill development की तो बात करते हैं, but एक designated time उनको दो जहाँ उनको लगता है उनकी skill है और जहाँ उनको खुशी मिलती है. And that will help you and your students in your school alike to make a difference in the life of these adolescents. So I'm going to end by saying that yes, these adolescents are our future. Yes, they are the catalyst for change, but please remember the change begins right here. Thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am.
धन्यवाद आर्यन मैम। अब मैं सत्र को आगे बढ़ाते हुए हमारी अगली प्रस्तुति के लिए मंच पर आमंत्रित करती हूँ कलेश के नायर जी को, जो त्रिवेंद्रम से हैं। उनके शोध पत्र का शीर्षक है एटीट्यूड्स ऑन सेक्सुअलिटी, जेंडर रोल एंड सेक्सुअल बिहेवियर अमंग हायर एजुकेशन स्टूडेंट्स।
Okay, good afternoon all. So I am very much delighted to stand before you. So myself Kalish Nair, I am coming from Trivandrum, and I am just going to tell a particular topic which is not firstly stated by myself. Right, so my topic is attitude on sexuality, gender roles and sexual behavior among higher education students. I am just getting into the introduction part and the objective part as fast as I can, because they allowed me only 8 minutes, right? So actually, in this scenario, because after this pandemic situation, most of the parents complained that their students are their kids are more involved in doing things in mobile, and mostly they are telling that they are doing gaming. In our open houses, we already hear these types of complaints, but later on, when I went through the certain investigation between these students, and when I went through the search history of these students, I came to know that more than gaming, they are just visiting lot of unethical sites. Their attitude is changing. It's already some speakers already told about the security that is required for the safeness that is required for the kids. But are we teachers safe? Because the attitude of students are changing. They don't know what is right and what is wrong in connection to sex. So, along with a lot of educators who are already provided this statement, I am also providing one statement that just like value education, sex education is also important in the curriculum of the students. Because they need to know what is right and what is wrong. Then only we can impose them. You don't want to do that because now they didn't know what is right and what is wrong. We can't able to blame them alone for this change in their attitude, the change in the character. Last day, before I am coming here, when I talked with one of my faculty members, he is telling that when he is writing a formula in the board related to max, base into length, suddenly the students start laughing. So he asked, what's the reason? The thing is that one of the students read it as base into sex, base into length, he read SCX, S base into SE into sex. And the students start laughing. Why? Why that much laughing in this particular word, and how that student just find out that particular word from that particular formula? So there comes the relevance of my study, attitudes on sexuality, gender roles and sexual behavior. And my study is basically, I'm just skipping this, I'm putting 3 variables for my study. One is sexuality, one is gender role and one sexual behavior. Sexuality is and gender role, these two are independent variables, whereas sexual behavior is very much dependent on the other 2 variables. Right. Sexuality, actually it is classified into 2, conservative and liberal. Right. Conservative is something which has some values, and the other one, liberal, is something open-mindedness. And gender roles, I classified it into 4, masculinity, femininity, androgynous and undifferentiated. And there are 12 norms for the sexual behavior. Actually, this is a very in-depth study that we have taken, but there is not much time for me to explain how I did it. So I am actually, apart from the way I did this study, I just want to focus my findings and what this study can do for the new generation. So this is a sample selection, 240 students, both male and female are there. Their average is 18.6 and it's averaging, not all these are there. And I use these tools for the purpose of attitude of sexuality. I use sexual attitude scale, then gender role, BEM sex role inventory, and sexual behavior. I do multi-dimensional sexuality question, an interview schedule. There's a lot of processes happen in 2 months for this study, but that much I can't able to explain, so I am just going through as a finding. This is a very important part of my presentation. So when I went through this, the androgynous female sex type and undifferentiated sex types students are significantly more conservative. Meanwhile, the boys are getting more liberal. Right, they are getting more liberal because the other three categories are getting more conservative. And the male sex type college students as well as higher secondary students very significantly more liberal in their sexual attitude than being conservative. So what our traditional values are changing. The students are changing, right? And our other findings are nowadays the liberal sexual attitude is getting more popular among the students, and internal sexual control must be practiced. Then students of both women and men are now become sexually conscious, and student having no relationship. Because in a classroom, the student who is having some relationship is a hero. But the others treat themselves as zero, they are getting into sexual depressions, and that will create a lot of problems. And the fear of sex is reducing, and internal sex control is more important. So these findings actually make me afraid, because the students are getting more into these activities. So they need to be educated, and these are my use of study. The main thing is that we should improvise tailored education. Through this study, we can able to emphasize the specific problems of individual. We can concentrate in that particular topic, and we can get solutions for that. And we can take the students, come out of the unwanted imaginations, unwanted thinkings of a stereotyping. We can take them out of stereotyping. We can promote inclusivity. Everything is same. You don't want to make any differentiation between male, female, etc. Right? Then addressing sexual health is very important. And risk reduction. Then communication skills. And most of the problems is happening because the students are not ready to communicate the problems that they are facing to the teachers, to the parents, etc. So we should want to raise their communication skills so that they can able to communicate it properly to the teachers. And preventing bullying and harassment, that is also happening in schools. Then crisis intervention, because if we can able to identify the behavior, and if we can able to identify their experience, we can intervene into their crisis, and we can make solutions for their problem. And of course, parent and family education, because a lot of parents are coming to our school and telling that my student just went to this website, etc., etc. You don't want to be panic. You just want to treat them, because in our time also we are using these things. But we should want to tell them what is good and what is bad. There's a famous saying, school is not a place to create only marks. It's a place to create memories. So that memory should be good thing. For that we need to tell them good and bad. You don't want to come out of the shell of the shyness. Our teachers also want to come out of that. Because our teachers are not ready to communicate with the students regarding this matter, because they are thinking that it is something very unethical. Nothing like this. Because after this pandemic situation, it is not the business person, it is not the politicians, it is not any other sort of persons who face a lot of crisis. It is the students who face a crisis. It is the teachers who face a crisis, because the technology is killing them. The technology is important, but they need to know how they want to use it in good way and in bad thing. We are telling the students what is good touch and bad touch. That likewise, we should want to implement sex education in our curriculum, along with science, along with humanities, along with commerce. They need to study that also. And scope for further study, I'm hereby saying that my study is not at all complete. It's only a way, because when I am talking with the students, they are not ready to open up. So there are a lot of limitations that happen in my theories and my studies. So everywhere the scope is there, so you can continue this study. And conclusion, the combination of effective sex education along with counseling and guidance holds the potential to enhance the likelihood of producing healthy offspring. Means likewise, we need to prove them counseling plus guidance in sex education is important. So our education system should want to change. They should want to change in such a way that they should want to give a proper communication to the students to know what is right and what is wrong in their activities. It is essential to cultivate a generation that strike a balance between liberal open-mindedness about sexuality and a fundamental conventional understanding of traditional values. We should stick on in our social values. We should stick on in our traditional values. By sticking on that traditional values, we should want to be liberal in our sexual attitude and other things. Then only we can reduce the crime. Because if you go through the crime scenario that is happening in our country now, you can see that is happening in between the age of 18 to 20. Lot of small kids are harassed, All these can be overcome if we can. I'm not sure that it can be over 100%, but at least we need to bring sex education in the curriculum of our new education system so that each and every students are well aware about what is good and what is bad. And in my state, not only in my state, I can tell that lot of teachers are very much frightened to stand in before some students because there's a change in attitude. These can be changed. As always said, students, they are our kids. We need to be with them. We don't want to throw them away. Right? We need to be with them. We need to run along with them. We don't want to be back to them. We want to be in front. We need to run along with them for creating a good society in India. We need sex education in the curriculum. That's not a negative thing. That should be the positive thing that can be done by the new education system. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Nair. We take a short break from the presentation because we have a very short round of felicitation coming up. To felicitate the keynote speaker and the reflector of the session on the stage. After this? Okay. So should we proceed, sir? The next presenter? Okay, fine.
हमारे अगले शोध पत्र प्रस्तुतिकरण के लिए मैं मंच पर आमंत्रित करती हूँ स्नेहा दादू जी को, जो अजमेर से है। उनके शोध पत्र का शीर्षक है द इम्पैक्ट ऑफ फिलांथ्रोपिक एक्ट्स ऑन एडोलेसेंस प्रो सोशियलिटी, अ क्वालिटेटिव एक्सप्लोरेशन।
Good afternoon, everyone. Just to change, I am Miss Sneha Ji Dadu, and I am coming from Dadra and Nagar Haveli. It's a union territory. The title of my study was The Impact of Philanthropic Acts on Adolescents' Pro-Sociality, a Qualitative Exploration. Can someone help with this? It's not working. So these are the content that we are going to cover in this: the abstract, the introduction, a literature review, methodology, result and discussion, and conclusion. Now the abstract, the study focused on understanding the impact of philanthropic acts. The participants comprised of students from grade 9 to 12, and the activity was called as Raksha Utsav, Spreading Smiles. And we also involved a field visit in this, where we visited Kasturba Gandhi Balika Vidyalaya. The data collection employed was questionnaires and focus group discussions, and the result indicated a significant improvement in pro-social values of these children. The purpose mainly aimed to cultivate pro-social values in adolescents by exposing them to the same age group underprivileged children. The implication suggests that there's huge potential for philanthropic initiatives to foster such pro-social values in adolescents. So before I start with my introduction, I would like to share a quote by Mahatma Gandhi. The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. Philanthropic acts can be any form of charitable acts or any form of good deeds. It can be in the form of donation, volunteering, time that you give to others, or any form of altruism. And pro-sociality refers to the range of voluntary behaviors that an individual engages in order to benefit others. Now, it can be in the form of willingness to help, cooperate, share, provide support, and here you are not expecting any immediate reward. Certain review of literature. A lot of altruism theories suggest that when you are conducting any kind of philanthropic acts, it is not only helping you as an individual, but it is going to enhance your own psychological well-being. Now, volunteering is rewarding an individual in multiple ways. Studies have also shown that when you're exposed to strangers, there's a release of oxytocin in your body, which in order promotes pro-social behavior and generosity. Children go through 4 processes of socialization, where they first perceive opportunity, then they get involved in it, and once they get involved in it, they develop skills for that, and then there is a perceiving of reward. Now here, perceiving of reward, we are talking about internal values. Now we have to understand that behaviors are always learned. Now let it be a pro-social behavior or anti-social behavior, it's always learned behavior. And environmental factors play a crucial role when developing such social brain. The background of this activity was, like, educators often raised concern regarding certain characters, like behavioral changes in children post-COVID. As we all know that pandemic had a profound effect on this generation of our teenagers. Students often lacked interest and motivation in school activities. And there was an immense trend of ingratitude for the resources that they possess. And there was also an absence of sense of social responsibility among these youngsters. Now, keeping all these concerns in our mind, we introduced an activity called as Raksha Utsav in our school. And here the objective was to encourage such pro-social values in children. Now it can be empathy, gratitude and social responsibility. So we teamed up with KGBV, that is Kasturba Gandhi Balika Vidyalaya, and it was the first time in the Union Territory of Dadra and Nagar Haveli and Daman and Diu that such an activity was conducted, where a government school and a private school collaborated together. Now, initially this activity was divided into 2 parts. First was the classroom activity and second was the field visit. Now in classroom activity, we asked children, we didn't force any child, we just asked them to voluntarily bring in any form of gifts. It can be in the form of stationaries or it can be in the form of toys, anything that is ideal to give to the same age group child. Now here during the CCA period, what we used to do is we made them wrap that gift and write personal notes in it. Now this was in order to create that connectivity with the participants. Now after this, we conducted a field visit and 26 of our representative students went to this place, and here we gave, so it was a very heartwarming activity that happened in our school, and we collected more than 400 gifts, although in this hostel only 100 children were there, and we could also resource this to more hostels in the locals. Now the activities that we included were Rakhi celebration, as it was prior to the festival of Raksha Bandhan. That's why we introduced Rakhi celebration, a sharing round where this 2 education system, the children from this 2 education system come together, and it's bridging a gap between these 2 education systems, and a gift sharing in order to foster a sense of connectivity and generosity. Now, for data collection, we used mixed method approach, that is focus group discussion and semi-structured questionnaires were conducted. And for analysis, we used thematic analysis method by Brown and Clark, which goes through 6 steps of qualitative steps. Now the results showed a lot of themes were there in the study. So mainly all the variables were showing the support to it, that is support for pro-social values of sense of empathy, gratitude and social responsibility. Along with these themes, there were also addition to more 5 themes, that is sense of awareness, sense of contentment, feeling of humility, realization of privilege and joy of giving. Now here, through this analysis, what we understand is that philanthropic approaches can definitely promote the development of pro-social values in our children, in adolescents. And when we plan it, when the activities are well planned, and it is also going to enhance the value internalization of students. This can also be affirmed with warm glow theory, where we say that charitable giving leads to inner satisfaction and improved psychological well-being. Now, I also added few of the statements that our children shared after all these activities were conducted. I hope that you can read them. Now, I have also added a video. Yeah. I'm sorry that I'm not able to play the video. No, it's not playing. I'm really sorry that I'm not able to play that, but it was a really heartwarming video. In conclusion, what I would like to share is that we as a school community can definitely foster a culture of giving in our students so that we develop a more compassionate and socially conscious society. Now, so this is on this occasion of World Mental Health Day. I think this is the promise as educators and school communities that we can take, that involving, fostering a culture of giving is definitely going to improve the pro-social values in our adolescents. Thank you so much.
धन्यवाद स्नेहा मैम। आगे बढ़ने से पहले प्रतिभागियों के लिए एक जरूरी सूचना। आपको दिए गए समय सीमा में थोड़ा बदलाव किया गया है। अभी 10 मिनट की जगह आप सभी को अपना प्रस्तुतिकरण 8 मिनट में ही देना पड़ेगा। आप सभी से अनुरोध है कि दिए गए नए समय सीमा का पालन करें। हमारे अगले शोध पत्र प्रस्तुतिकरण के लिए मैं मंच पर आमंत्रित करती हूँ प्रशांत SR जी को, जो त्रिवेंद्रम से हैं। उनके शोध पत्र का शीर्षक है आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस टूल्स टू एनहांस द लर्निंग एक्सपीरियंस ऑफ इंक्लूसिव स्टूडेंट्स।
Good afternoon to all. I would like to start my presentation. Already introduction is there. So I would like to start my presentation from 4 lines. You can also recite. The song is, "Who is in my temple? All the doors are open to themselves. All the lights are open themselves. And darkness like a dark bird flies away and flies away." Education is one of the prominent tools to remove the darkness. And here I am with the topic, use of artificial intelligence tools to enhance the learning experience of students, and especially inclusive students, the blooming buds. You know very well, our education is rapidly moving with updation in technology. One of the important revolution is artificial intelligence. You know very well what is artificial intelligence. The intelligence used by machines or computer, and they want to imitate the same intelligence level of human beings. And you know, 3 types of AI is there: the normal intelligence, narrow intelligence, general intelligence, and super intelligence. Here I would like to conduct the study based on qualitative research, and this research include content analysis. After identifying the contents related to AI, I have selected some areas where we can use the artificial intelligences. Actually, it is related to the concept of inclusive education. I would like to communicate what are the findings, the results and discussion of this study. See, only the qualitative research is done, content analysis is the tool, and you have to go through the result and discussion where we can, as a teacher or the student, we can use the AI. You know very well, it is after the COVID, everyone is able to use, every teachers and the students also able to use artificial intelligence also. So very simply we can apply all the tools which are related to these areas. AI tools can be utilized for the development of text content, video related contents, and also can be utilized for the development of presentations very quickly without much effort. And see, one of the major advantages, like the technology, artificial intelligence also can be used for personalized learning, and also we can provide multi-sensory learning experience, especially for the inclusive students, the blooming buds. We can give more with the support of artificial intelligence tools. So when I gone through the analysis, the content analysis, lots of tools are there, but you know very well, whenever we are using some applications, we have to pay. We have to pay. But I have taken the few tools. You can also take the screenshot. These are of free of cost. We can open with our only one Gmail account. Only one Gmail account. We can use all these applications. First of all, you can see all of you know very well about the ChatGPT. See, all of you are using for development of textual content. But you know, as a teacher, I have used for multi-purposes, for the development of lesson plan, for giving multi-colorful activities in the students, especially child-oriented activities we can give, treasure hunting activities give, we can develop puzzles, we can develop lot of colorful stories, poems with the support of all these applications, AI applications. And if we give a topic, we can, within quick seconds, it will give the outputs. So we can utilize for this, and also very simply, without any additional knowledge of editing, video editing, we can create colorful videos, and that can be given as a task for the students also. Every applications are of free of cost, and we can edit manually. If we give a simple topic after login with our Gmail, that will give the output with high quality videos. That will give auditory and visual experience also. And some other tools are there, like presentation creation tools. The output will be in the form of PPT, in the form of video, in the form of images we will get. So all the applications are of free of cost. You know the free, there will be some limitation also, but that can be utilized for 3 or 5 minutes in our classroom. And see, in order to give auditory experience for our students, we can utilize these type of AI tools that can be given used by students themselves also. And you know, very important part of AI is assessment. But it is one of the bad side. I didn't get any application like that to assess the performance of the students. But these type of course giving platforms are using AI for the students also. Coursera, edX, then Tennis, that type of platforms are using the help of AI for assessment of students' performance in various areas. And you can see, after this analysis, I had conducted a small action research in my school itself. Our school includes lot of inclusive students. We are not separating them. In my class also, I have one small child. I selected the sample, and the tools used two achievement tests, and also taken AI tools like 3 areas: OpenAI, ChatGPT, STAI, and 11 labs. And the action is implemented with the support of a pre-test is conducted first, and related to business studies. Some topic is selected. Based on that, a small achievement test is conducted, and after that, the score is very low. You can see the score also. A small training is given. He is well aware about the technology, because the child is selected ITS on paper, so it was very easy for me. After that, sufficient time is given to interact with all these tools, and he developed his own content with the support of AI tools. After that, the post test was conducted. The score are there. The pre-test score is out of 25, it is 8, and the percentage you can see 32. After that experiment, the training section of a post-test was also conducted. There was a slight increase in the score about the performance, and the suggestions and the results of that action research. There is a slight variation, improvement in the score of the post-test that shows we can utilize the AI tools to enhance the learning experience of inclusive students also. So once I rejoin in school, definitely I will implement the same action research. A lot of inclusive students are there from the small classes also. Definitely I will implement this study in my school. And the study shows, the analysis shows that we can utilize AI tools up to a certain extent as a supportive tool to enhance the learning experience. The role of teacher is very, very important on. It's only every technology is only a supporting tool for the students' learning enhancement. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
धन्यवाद सर आपकी प्रस्तुति के लिए। हमारे अगले शोध पत्र प्रस्तुतिकरण के लिए मैं मंच पर आमंत्रित करती हूं अलका साहनी जी को, जो दिल्ली से हैं। उनके शोध पत्र का शीर्षक है Facilitating Education of Students with Learning Disability।
Well, good afternoon, Guwahati, or it's good evening, Guwahati. Can I have a good evening from all of you? I promise I'm going to keep it to 8 minutes or maybe even less than that. I'm not going to follow the typical pattern which you people are following right now, because that is already there with abstract and everything. How do I go ahead with it? So I'm going to make it quick, and I'm going to give you the live case studies that we are doing in our school and how it's going to help us out in facilitating the education of students with learning disabilities. So our thing is empowering children with special needs, navigating challenges, and unlocking potential. I agree, like my fellow Prashant, he has actually set the tone for my presentation, and all the fellow educators before me have spoken a lot about how the things are post-COVID with the learning disability children or CWSN children. So this is something I've taken from UNESCO only, the attendance rate of students with the learning disabilities. Just let me see. I'm not that good right now with this thing. Maybe it's the end of the session. So as per UNESCO's report, we saw that the children with special needs, it was only 61% that has attended the school or they are attending the school. There is 27% that has never attended the school only. And 10% is the dropout rate, either the parents or maybe they do not have the facilities, the schools are not inclusive enough. So when I talk about inclusivity, you know, the Boyle, he said that the principle of inclusivity actually is mitigating educational inequalities, exclusion, discrimination, that is inclusion. So focusing on that and talking about our own case study, because there is a video which I want, you know, to share, and that's a 2-minute video roughly if it comes. So I'm going to skip most of the things over here. So this thing is the child, which is at core, integration of students, and then we have dedicated educators, proactive administrator, engaged parents, and what we get is valued, supported, and empowered students. Providing a nurturing environment, this is how you are going to facilitate accessible infrastructure, positive interaction, equal opportunities, and here I'm going to add the role of leadership. We are doing this action research right now as well, how important the role of leadership is in a school. So creating a culture of inclusion in school, it requires a very strong leadership. The change has to come from you. You are the one who is at the top of the hierarchy, and you are the one who can actually give it further to your system, to your staff who will give it to the students. So this is a methodology. I am going to first of all come to utilization of assistive technology, because I do not know when they are going to ask me to stop. Now this assistive technology has been developed in the school by one of our students only. So this is a tactic glove and a tactic forehead. We've done this, and like there's a student that we took. He's an ADHD student. So, and he's always, you know, squirming around, fidgeting with the things and telling stories, daydreaming kind of a thing. He's always busy in that. But when we did this thing with him, when we made him wear this glove and this, the tactic helmet, so he was able to concentrate and he was able to understand what it is. So that means it is the focus, it is the attention, the concentration that changed. He was able to focus on it, he was able to do the things, and he was able to understand the digital game. So what I'm trying to tell you is that if more research on this is done, because this is still underway, if more research of this is done, and we will be able to accurately find out the ADHD cases, because the movement of the gloves, that is read through AI, and you come to know like whether he is an ADHD case or not, and then how he is responding to the digital game that's coming up. So this would be a landmark thing. Ma'am, if I want to go for this video, how do I go for? If somebody could just help me. Can you see the video? If is it, or should I? No. So one thing I think we all are doing, the individual educational plan development, that is there, IEPs, differentiated instruction and multisensory learning. One of my colleagues has already elaborated on that. Then it is technology. This is the one I want to see the video. I hope now it is a bit clear. Can you all see the video that's going on? We have not shown the faces right now over here. So this is a child who was diagnosed with ADHD. He is wearing this tactile glove. I think if you want the video, I can share it with the others who would like to have it. Let's move ahead now. And then there's a collaborative teaching model where the special educator is collaborating with the class teachers, with the subject teachers, and then moving ahead. So all these 5 strategies, when they work together, we've seen a change in the behavior of the child. We have seen a change in his learning adaptation as well. He's able to learn more, he's able to understand more, he's able to grasp more. So recognizing the challenges associated with ADHD and specific attention management techniques, we were incorporated, and including structured routines, clear visual schedules, and positive behavior reinforcement, that was a part of it. And so this is how we were able to diagnose ADHD, and I'm sure if you're going to continue with this thing, this would be a landmark thing. And I would just going to end with this, that inclusion is not a one-size-fits-all solution. It's a commitment to embracing and supporting every individual's learning journey. I'm going to say what Rashmi said, it is dark. We know it is dark, but we have to find the light. We do not have to exclude the children. We do not have to make a separate curriculum for them. We do not have to do anything separate. It is not discrimination. It is not exclusion. You have to include them. So using such gadgets, using AI, which my Prashant, my predecessor, has just talked about it. So using AI, if we use such tools, we would be able to make a difference. And yes, role of leadership is important. Definitely very important. Thank you so very much. I think I was well below time only.
धन्यवाद मैम। हमारी अगले शोध पत्र प्रस्तुतिकरण के लिए मैं मंच पर अब आमंत्रित करती हूं अरुण जॉन मासी जी को चंडीगढ़ से। उनके शोध पत्र का शीर्षक है केस स्टडी ऑन फैसिलिटेटिंग एजुकेशन विद लर्निंग डिसेबिलिटी।
A very good afternoon, everyone. My name is Arun John Masi, and I work at Chandigarh Baptist School. And I would like to speak on facilitating education of students with learning disability. And learning disability is very unique. You know, there are things that we see as A, B, C, D, numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. But a child with learning disability he may see things differently. What we see as ABCD, he may see it differently, and sometimes a child may be great with ABCD, great with numbers, but very poor social skills, which means he or she will have no eye contact, neither with the teachers nor with the parents. Sometimes, maybe a child is great, but when a child wakes up in the morning, a neurotypical child will say, "Good morning, Dad, good morning, Mama, good morning, Mama." Sometimes, if a child has a learning disability, and if the diagnosis is right, they will say, "Itsy bitsy spider," they'll just say random things, but not good morning. There's no good morning, there's no good night. Sometimes, maybe the child has everything, but the motor skills are so weak that they can't even hold a pen or a pencil. So learning disability is unique, it is advanced, it is vast, and it does have different names, and these are all different names. There could be more. But I would like to take you on a journey of what we do in our school. So what we do at our school is we've taken and divided into 3 segments. One is screen. So what we do is we get a child first, we have a special educator, then we have another teacher with the special educator. We assess a child both inside and outside the classroom. For example, we are looking at a cognitive behavior of a child. We will look at this cognitive behavior inside the room. How is the actual child behaving? Can he do 1 + 1? Is he able to get it? Can he take a block? Can he put that block? Can he do this? Can he take a magnet and put that magnet train on a track? Does he know that this is magnet, this is a car, he has to put it, he has to build? Can he do Legos? It is the cognitive ability of a child, and we work with a lot of kids, and most of the time it is accurate when we screen a child on his cognitive behavior both inside and outside the classroom. Equally, the social. We also look at the social behavior. Is he interacting with his peers? Is he social? Is he friendly with the other kids? Can he say hi, friends? Can he make friends? Or is he just isolating himself or herself? If the child is just isolating in one corner and he or she just wants to be alone, ek kone ke andar baithna mujhe acha lagta hai, is that the behavior? That means poor social skills. We also look at motor skills, gross motor, larger muscles, fine motor, the smaller muscles. We look at a lot of behavior and we screen them. And then we also look at what is it about the senses? Sensory integration. Is the child okay? Is the child not okay? Once we get that, we move to the next part, which is assessments. And we use 2 tools in our school. One is the MDPS, Madras Development Programming System. I can talk about this program. It's a great program. But because of the time, I think it'll be great for you to go online and read about this. It will make much more sense. The second that we use is MChat. A lot of organizations are using it to assess a child if the child falls on the autism spectrum disorder in the ADHD, in the ASD form. The last what we do is once we have everything is we intervene. This is where we are uniquely different, and I believe, and I can share why. How we intervene is we look at a curriculum, which is great. It has to be there. The ABCDs, the 1, 2, 3, 4, the additions. We have to teach English. We got to teach maths. We have to teach, the different languages. But at the same time, how do we make a child inclusive in a classroom? What we do is when we have the assessment, we look at where is the child weak and in which category. For example, the child may be great in mathematics but very poor in his social skills. So what we do is we have four different types of therapies. The first one is occupational therapy. And a child A, for example, will go to occupational therapy maybe 30 minutes inside a room that we have assigned in our own school. OT is where the therapist or a special educator is sitting with the child for a 30-minute session, working on his muscles. Maybe they'll have the child take the beads, just exercise the brain a bit longer, just more like a one-on-one session. The second that we do is cognition-based therapy. One-on-one again, blocks, Legos, building a train, building a car. How do you play with the toy? Neurotypical kids play with toys. They know what to do. but a child with the special needs will not play with the toy just as a regular child. They will need one-on-one attention. Somebody needs to spend time with the child, and this is what this cognition-based therapy does. The third is applied behavior analysis. Now, when it comes to education, and if a child is in a room where they have 30 kids and we want it to be inclusive, welcome to the real world, applied behavior analysis. There is a behavior in the child that a school or a classroom may think, or other kids will think, it's a bit awkward. Will that be a right place for a child to sit? It absolutely is. But what we'll have to do is, we'll have to address the behavior. So what we will do is, in this therapy session for half an hour a week, with a particular child, we will address those behaviors. For example, if the child's social, not social, let's see what we can do. Can we build a plan? Is the child being cranky? If a different child takes something from a child with a special needs, will he be cranky? Will the behavior work? It may not, but with this therapy, this is what it does. It will address those behaviors that we need to address. And I'll tell you why we do this, is to make sure the child gets an amazing, amazing life, building a life skill. And I want to take you to, and I want to share about this student that we have. The name is Dhruv Sharma. He's diagnosed with a sensory integration disorder. And very quickly, I want to talk to you about his life skill challenges. He had very poor verbal communication, short attention span, problem-solving skills, stimming problem, echolalia. Echolalia is a stage where you'll say hi. He'll say hi. He'll say, how are you? So, how are you? I'm good. I'm good. Roti khaoge, roti khaoge. And he kept doing it throughout his class. And we also looked at his classroom challenges. And he had poor mealtime activities, social behavior problems, unclear speech, random words repetition, and poor pincer grasping. What did we do is we built an intervention plan where the child will go for therapies 4 days a week, 30 minutes each. So it'll be 30 minutes of CBT once a week, 30 minutes of OT, 30 minutes of speech, 30 minutes of sensory integration therapy. This is all happening inside our school. And I want to close in with just this graph here, which says month number 1, we saw him improve his sitting tolerance from 5 minutes to over 20 minutes. In the month number 2, he was independent in his mealtime activity. Month number 3, his echolalia stage, where he kept on repeating stuff. It was reduced by 60%. And the last, month number 4, we have improvement in his socialization and writing skills. And I believe we have done this because we absolutely believe in this, and it is working. This is just a 4-month study, but I believe hopefully by next year and maybe after 10 years, he'll be ready for, just graduating, getting a job, and having a life skill. Thank you so much.
धन्यवाद सर आपकी प्रस्तुति के लिए। माननीय उपस्थित सभागण, अब मैं हमारी अगली और आज की अंतिम शोध पत्र प्रस्तुतिकरण के लिए मंच पर आमंत्रित करती हूं कविता त्रिवेदी जी को भोपाल से। उनके शोध पत्र का शीर्षक है A Case Study on Effects of Cooperative Learning to Facilitate Education for Students with Learning Disability, a Unique Approach to Global Trends in Modern Education.
नमस्कार। मुझे थोड़े से रेस्पॉन्स की उम्मीद थी क्योंकि लास्ट में नाम आने के कारण मैं वैसे ही बहुत नर्वस हूँ। नमस्कार। थैंक यू। आई एम स्टार्टिंग द स्टॉपवॉच सर। आई विल बी टाइम स्पेसिफिक। The thing is that my topic is a study on effects of cooperative learning to facilitate education for students with learning disabilities. Here, I need to clear out the topic. Learning disability doesn't mean that it cannot be cured. Although it cannot be completely cured, but if it is identified at the right time and given correct help, then the students can perform well in their studies in the later years. कोऑपरेटिव लर्निंग को मैं इस तरीके से समझाऊं, आई विल बी बाइलिंगुअल, आई एम सॉरी टू से दैट। जज्बात समझना भी जरूरी है, हाथ थामना ही काफी नहीं होता। हम में से कई हिंदी सुनने वाले भी हैं, ऑलरेडी showing expertise at English won't do good, so I'll be okay with Hindi as well. I want to say that this ability has many abilities. Each and every ability has many ability. So as the learning disability, the students with learning disabilities, they too have many abilities. It is we up to the teachers, counselors, how to identify that ability. And here I'm coming up to cooperative studies. Here is a short introduction. What cooperative learning means. Cooperative learning means this kind of classroom activities into which academic and socio-learning experiences are so shared that students are made into small groups. The class is divided into 4, 5, 6 small groups, and they are given certain tasks to perform. जब वो उस टास्क को करना सीख जाते हैं, then they are made to return to their home group and there they perform that task where we can assess them as well. तो कोऑपरेटिव लर्निंग का मतलब ये नहीं है कि सारे के सारे बच्चों को क्लास को सिर्फ ग्रुपों में बांट देना, उनको ग्रुप्स में बांटना, उनकी एक्टिविटी को अलग अलग एक्टिविटी उनको प्रोवाइड करना, उनको अलग अलग असाइनमेंट्स प्रोवाइड करना और उसके बाद उनको मॉनिटर करना दैट व्हेन दे आर रिटर्निंग टू देयर होम ग्रुप हाउ आर दे परफॉर्मिंग, दैट टाइम वी कैन असेस देम. दिस इज ऑल अबाउट कोऑपरेटिव लर्निंग. Here is the abstract that what are the benefits. It's too long, you can read it. इसके बहुत सारे फायदे हैं. एक ट्रेडिशनल क्लासरूम इंटरवेंशन के द्वारा या एक जो क्लासरूम का स्ट्रक्चर है, वी कैन चेंज दैट एंड वी कैन ब्रिंग अ चेंज इनटू दैट. कई बार ऐसा होता है कि हम देखते हैं कि ऑल आर कॉग्निटिव स्किल्स आर ओनली मेड फॉर द स्टूडेंट्स हु आर गुड एट लर्निंग, बट व्हाट अबाउट देम? They are also a part, and now as per the NEP, we cannot have a separate classroom for them. They are also the integral part of the classroom. So for them, we have to plan something, and this we have implemented in our school. We are having 4 or 5 students like this, and when we took this cooperative learning to the classes, it went very well. Cooperative learning takes place where learners are of different mixed ability levels. They all are not of the same ability. Like all the brilliant students are not made to sit in a group, or all the students, those who are having some disability, are made to sit in a separate group. We mix the groups. Cooperative learning strategy, it offers the students to apply knowledge. वो एक दूसरे से बात करते हैं, एक असाइनमेंट पे साथ में काम करते हैं, सीखते हैं, समझते हैं और वापस जाकर अपने पुराने होम ग्रुप पे उन चीज़ों को सिखाते हैं. Formal cooperative learning structure facilitated and monitored by educators over time and is used to achieve group goals in task works. Here basically we are discussing about task work. The jigsaw method. I'm coming up to this method. This method means, what does a jigsaw? Jigsaw is a kind of method that was introduced by Elliot Aronson, और ये एक ऐसी मेथड है जिसमें क्लासरूम एक्टिविटी को एक कोऑपरेटिव लर्निंग स्ट्रेटजी के द्वारा बांट दिया जाता है, जहां स्टूडेंट को अपने होम ग्रुप में जाना होता है, एक स्पेशल टास्क उसको दिया जाता है, एंड ही और शी इज परफॉर्मिंग वेरी वेल इन द ग्रुप, देन ही इज रिटर्निंग टू दैट ग्रुप एंड ही इज टीचिंग दैट as we are doing as when we attend the trainings from CBSE. हम आते हैं, हम सीखते हैं. Today also many of us will learn something and again we'll return back to our school and again we will explain whatever we have learned throughout the day, what are the takeaways from this training. So many things are there, like what are the aspects of effective cooperative learning. Here the size, only 5-6 students are made to sit in a group. Clear learning goals and direct instruction of group procedures. बहुत clearly उनको समझाया जाता है कि आपको क्या गोल, आपको क्या अचीव करना है और आपको क्या इंस्ट्रक्शन दिए जा रहे हैं. जो इंस्ट्रक्शन है वो उनकी समझ में क्लियर आते हैं. यहाँ पे ग्रुपिंग अलग अलग तरीके के बच्चों के साथ में की जाती है. अकाउंटेबिलिटी, वन हैज टू टेक द अकाउंटेबिलिटी बिकॉज एवरी टास्क नीड्स अकाउंटेबिलिटी to be taken by someone. Cooperative learning with an inclusive classroom requires thoughtful planning. It's not that the activity that we plan it in a certain day, today we have to do this kind of activity. It needs a lot of planning. बहुत लंबा वक्त लगता है ये सब activities को करने के लिए. And then when we see the result, and the result is going on good in primary classes where communication and language, definitely we brought change in this aspect. This is jigsaw method. This kind of method we are using in the class. Here are the limitations of the study, because this study was done in Baitul district of Madhya Pradesh. The study is to be limited because after class 5th at primary level only this jigsaw method can be effective. After that, this method is not working good and we haven't shown that. The research methodology that we used is survey method. This is all table about what how we calculated it. This is the bar graph, pie graph, and how the communication of the primary level students, how it improved, and here is the result. Here are the references that I have taken. Overall, to sum up, in the time limit, I just can say that cooperative learning, here UNESCO has decided that there are 21 categories of CWSN. Learning disability is just one of them. It's not all about CWSN children. CWSN children are divided into 21 categories, and learning disability is the one category what I have chosen that can be cured if it is timely addressed. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, all the presenters. The presentations were indeed very insightful. May I now request Dr. Hazarika to present her reflection for this session.
Good evening, everyone. I'm so delighted to be here. Thanks to CBSE for inviting me and to chair this session, to be one of the jury members. And this was quite a, it's a brainstorming session. For both of us, we were like kind of discussing. Sometimes certain studies, we had no idea whether it was done very scientifically with, the methodology to be followed or not, what is the sample size. Because when we talk about research, we always have to remember that it is something which is very scientific, all right? And the statistics is very, very important. On the basis of statistics, we make significant conclusion about the findings, the variables that are included, whether dependent, independent, how it has affected the outcome. Because, when we talk about scientific research, we cannot just talk from our own feeling or mind. So I think this is a good practice, because today is the first time I have come to a conference of a non-medical fraternity, right? So I have been always, chairing or giving my own papers here in India, as well as when I was doing my postdoc abroad. I was seeing all the medical fraternities, psychiatrists, mental health professionals talking about mental health. But today it is so beautifully done by non-medical professionals on something which is so very crucial as mental health and illness. Because the terminology is ADHD, you're talking about neurodevelopmental issues, you're talking about, these are so much to do with the biology of the human mind and the psychosocial aspects also. So it was quite an insight. I'm so thankful to get the kind of knowledge that the teachers are bringing to this platform. I congratulate each one of you, because some of the topics that we deal in our mental health area is already been covered, and you people are doing a great work in terms of innovation, definitely, applicability, and taking this further, AI, you're talking about artificial intelligence and stuff like that. So going by what the presenters had presented, I would just go one by one a little bit inside, because they've come all the way, so I don't want to present as a nutshell and as a summary. Maybe Dimple. So she had given a lot of insight about stakeholders being psychological minded, adolescents' issues to be very crucial, and we have to take care of the biopsychosocial influences. She talked about change being constant, and also the ADHD component that she had talked about, but I just want to focus that ADHD is not what you're talking about. ADHD is something which is very much neurodevelopmental, biological illness which requires medicines. It just doesn't happen because of the stress and strain in an adolescent's mind. So I think that we need to correct a little bit. We all need to know about Piaget's theory of cognitive development. You know, when we talk about cognition, what is the age that the abstract reasoning happens, the concrete reasoning and all those. Maybe the theories of child development has to be known by each teacher of CBSE. Khosla had really given us insight about positive psychology. We, the clinical psychologists, I am a clinical psychologist, I deal with the mentally ill people and children with behavior, emotional, academic problems. They come to me and a whole gamut of problems. I mean to say, if the CBSE schools of Guwahati is here, I think all the schools send patients or children to me. Only because I've been here for a long time, more than 20 years, and the government sector. So I have to give the disability certificate, and I'm impaneled in the Autism Board of Assam, as well as the Learning Disability Board of Assam, as well as the MR, Mentally Retarded or Intellectual Development Disorder, and Gender Dysphoria certificate. So people had talked about LGBTQ, gender discrimination, about gender dysphoria. People have to know a little bit more about that. I think teachers need to read about gender issues. And gender dysphoria is big. No, today itself, when I came from the medical college, there was a person who wanted to change their gender and how much we had to struggle with her. We had to send her to the endocrinology department. There is a seminar that is coming, national conference in November, I think November 10th, where I'm going to be there with the endocrinologist, because we give the certificates for sex reassignment surgeries. So these are big issues that you need to know. I think one of the persons, maybe Kailash, had spoken about gender issues. Anyway, going to Khosla, positive psychology is very, very important. Happiness, gratitude, subjective well-being that she talked about. We all should know that at the age of 14 and 15 years, that is the gateway period, all right? So the child's mental health illness issues starts at that age. So most of the adult who has mental illness had onset of his illness before 15 years. Mind it, it is very, very significant an issue, because we come to know about depression, schizophrenia, bipolar, personality disorders later in life, but maybe those symptoms were seen in early childhood or middle childhood. So teachers needs to be very, very aware. The early identification, how she had mentioned about how positive psychology can be inculcated so that we can prevent mental illness. It's a very nice sentence that she had written. So we need to focus on that, how positive psychology can be enhanced in our children so that the negative effect, the frustration tolerance, demanding, low frustration tolerance is too much in our children nowadays. So how that could be reduced, how social connectedness can be improved. That is very important, and we need to have some insight. There's another thing that I have seen is that nobody mentions about third gender. When you're doing research, it is not only male and female. It is to be male, female, and the third gender. When you talk about gender perspective, you need to keep that in mind. Because nowadays adolescents, they would like to be asked whether you want to ascribe or prefer yourself to be a female or a male. Because most of the adolescents nowadays do not prefer male or female. They sometimes say, I am queer, I am asocial, I am I'm in that category of third gender. So we need to be very, very cognizant of that fact and be very sensitive about gender issue, because no study had talked about that. Everyone had talked about male and female, boys and girls. So Kailash had spoken, I'm just taking the first name, sorry for that, I have not written the surname here. So he had talked about students' attitudes are changing, lot of stimulations. We had already seen in CBSE, there is a reproductive and sex health education that has been always there, I guess. As I remember, because I used to give these classes to a lot of teachers here in Assam, in Guwahati. Is it still functioning? The adolescents' reproductive and sexual health? Yes? It is still continuing, right? Okay, class 8. Right. So what I understand, that was always there. I mean to say, it's not a new thing sexuality, sex education and all. But something new that you have to maybe put in is what I talked about, all these gender dysphoria issues. The sex reassignment that I'm talking about, that I think need to be inculcated more, exploring, and because early exposure to sex and sex education and materials of sexual content is happening because of the digital media. In the mobile, in the laptop, it's just a spams come and people get exposed to a lot of such materials. And children have very inadequate knowledge, poor knowledge or inadequate knowledge, or knowledge which should not be known by them. So what we have to do as elders and teachers to give them adequate, appropriate knowledge about sex and sexuality, that is what is important. Exposure will always be there, but how are you going to deal with that? I get cases of children with disability having sexual issues. I mean to say it is a very, very serious issue. Teachers sending children to me, disabled children having disability of various kinds, maybe IDD, maybe SLD, maybe autism, they're having issues like masturbation in the classroom. They're showing their sexual organs to other children and how to deal with that. So these are big issues. I mean to say how to deal with behavior therapy principles in dealing with children because they are already intellectually disabled, they are already autistic. And they are having those physical arousal or the experience of adolescence, during the time of adolescence, definitely the hormonal changes are happening like any normal child, and how to deal with those libidinal issues. So these are big. So how to deal with that? I mean to say a lot of teachers may be facing this, because I get a lot of cases of that. So these are POXO Act. You have to know about prevention of child sexual offense, and that is an act, I think, in simple language, in different classes, you have to give education to children. Children need to know about prevention of child sexual offense. I get cases, I go to the courts to deal with that. I mean to say, teachers harassing, having sexual, kind of relationships with children, and children having relationships with different kind of classroom peer groups, I mean to say seniors, and how to deal with that. I mean to say, are you going to file a case because it's POXO? We have to really think about that, because prevention of child sexual offense is something which we all should learn, know, educate our children so that they know when to prevent themselves and protect themselves from such kind of activities. Sneha had talked about a lot of things actually, about celebrating certain things, togetherness, about how, I mean to say, if I can talk about her area about pro-social behavior, what we can think about, the disintegration of the joint family. Just talking to my, jury member, that maybe these kind of activities in a different way we can do. One is the pro-social behavior of integrating or with other, privileged children with less privileged children. That is one way of giving gifts and all, but that becomes very material. We should not support material gifts to each other rather than doing something constructive, like she was saying, that what about giving education? I mean to say, there are certain schools which she told me is that, in summers, it seems the privileged children from the privileged school, maybe the private schools, are taking up children from the slum areas, and for 15 days are teaching these students, I mean to say, every day about different things in life. I think this is a way you can, exchange knowledge and do something for each other. So those kind of pro-social behaviors can be inculcated, and maybe this is a good way. I mean, it's an innovation that she had talked about, contributing to the society and to the personal growth. That is what life is. What did Piaget talked about? Piaget talked about accommodation, assimilation, isn't it? So what we talk about our own growth as well as the society's growth. We are individuals for others. We are not individuals for ourselves. How we can be less self-centric because of the disintegration of the joint family, maybe the single parent, nuclear family, we have become very self-centered. So maybe these kind of pro-social behavior can inculcate certain very nice and positive values in our children. Prashant had spoken about the impact of AI, artificial intelligence. It's very, very nice. It's very insightful for me because this is something that I have learned from him, and maybe I have to know all the apps that he had talked about, because he has talked about ChatGPT, yes, but not other apps. So I can't comment on what actually he had done or what he proposes to do. But this is something which is new. We need to know more about it, to comment about it. I have no knowledge to comment about this. But this is something which I have learned, and thanks to him for that. And maybe we can inculcate all these newer innovative techniques that is coming up in the society. And the world is definitely going to become more artificial. And I don't know how much we will be needed, our profession, nowadays when after COVID-19, people are all, online therapy, online everything, apps, softwares are coming up. So when people say we are okay in online, and I feel a little bit uncomfortable. I was never online before, but nowadays I am also in online. And sometimes maybe I'll have a robo of myself, robo mightily talking to people having problems. So we really do not know where we are going and how much, but personal touch is always personal touch. Warmth cannot be felt in, technology. This is my personal understanding. Alka had talked about specific learning disability, remedial training and stuff like that, assisted technology, something which is new, which is something which is definitely innovative, but the special educators are less. Whenever I send my children with learning disabilities in Assam, it's very sad to say there's a few special learners or, educators and remedial trainers. It is just few means what? Not even, I think, 10, 11. So how are they going to do so much for the children? Every day it's increasing. I mean to say identification is happening, early identification definitely, but how are the teachers going to take so much of load? I really have no idea. So maybe every teacher should be trained in remedial training. I mean to say, besides what their own subjects, I think the special educators again need to teach about special education techniques to the other teachers. Then something might happen. Otherwise, it is not possible. I can see the load on these special educators and remedial trainers. And assistive technology again. How many children can we cater to this applicability part of this? But it's something very, very important for us to again do more research into these areas, maybe then come to an understanding. Arun had talked about a case study, maybe. It was very, very interesting. Why it was interesting is, school do not have so much of time. Okay, and I should congratulate him if his school is doing this. Screening, assessing, intervening each child is tremendous. Because when I was in the US, I was in the Florida University. I had actually been to such centers of behavior modification schools where they do all these. I mean to say, one particular person is only catering to one or two children. And they are giving ample time to each student to know about social, cognitive, motor, all the different milestones and where they are delayed. And then do individualized education plan the way he had mentioned. This is a concept of a developed country. I hope India goes into that, same step as he had given us an idea about, but I think it's far behind now. So we can definitely think about inculcating this idea in our schools in whatever way it is possible. First screening them, then trying to find out what are the strengths and the weaknesses, and definitely to focus on the strengths more and the weaknesses to be dealt with a team of people. Team of people may occupational therapist, speech therapist, cognitive behavior therapist. I mean to say behavior therapist. So many people are involved in one particular child. And the cost, again, is it a normal fees that you're going to take for this child? Or are you going to take fees for each therapist for this particular child? Is India ready for that much of cost? That is one thing that we have to really, really think of. And if we can do this, I think this is the best way to, address. Then comes about applied behavior analysis. That is something which is very, very, significant behavioral therapy intervention which we should apply to each child having a problem. Okay? So I would reiterate the fact that you have to read on applied behavior analysis, because something which is normally can be applied in our day-to-day life for any child having an issue. I mean to say any behavior problem, not with children with only learning disability. With our children also, I mean to say our own children create a lot of nuisance. Kavita had talked about cooperative learning. That is, I think, is the last one. She talked about group activities, jigsaw methods, and stuff like that. Yes, you know, any kind of activities when it is done in a group, definitely it will have a very good outcome, especially with children. And when we talk about people with mental illness, we always have group therapy. You know, with substance use disorders, we have with schizophrenic patients, we have with depressed people, we have with families with learning disabilities, we have. You know, families with intellectual development disorders, we have group therapy, because it's like a peer group support, helping each other, you know, cooperatively developing together, and that we are into this, you know, the team spirit and the unification, the togetherness really, really helps to enhance our skills. I think a lot of different areas are covered in this session, and I'm very, very happy to be here because I learned a lot, maybe. And one or two points from me to add on is, you know, you need to also give importance to body image disturbances in adolescence. A lot of adolescents have body dysmorphic symptoms, you know, eating disorder, and they feel that they are ugly looking. You know, Madam had talked about bullying. Some children whom I had seen who had committed suicide in Guwahati, very elite family, adolescent girl, you know, two girls, I will not name, a lot of people may know if they are from Guwahati. I was seeing them, and both of them had completed suicide. You know, they had medicines also, they were in treatment also, but they had a significant issue of bullying. And that bullying, and also bullying about their physical feature and complexion, which they had actually carried all throughout their lives from childhood to adolescence to adulthood, and they just could not live with that. Okay? So one of the contributory factor of suicide. Suicide is a multidimensional factor. You know, now 46,000 annually in the globally children commit suicide. 1 in 11 minutes a child commits suicide. I mean to say it's a huge issue which is biologically, psychologically, socially dominant and influenced. It's not only for one particular reason, but bullying definitely contributes. It had contributed to at least these two children, what I understand. And you know, integrated curriculum definitely is but again, I feel parents create a lot of hindrance. Many a times I see a lot of parents talking to me saying that I really do not like children with disabilities coming and mingling with my child. You know, when that child mingles with mine, maybe my child is going to learn a lot of behavior from the child with disability, and that creates a lot of problem at home. Many times he is kind of mimicking certain behaviors and showing us, and we are very worried. So many times parents create hindrance in the education system. So I think that parent-child and parents-teachers communication is very, very important. Knowledge to build up in parents. If they are not aware, have a lot of parental sessions and give education in a language that they will understand. Thank you so much for calling me here. And I would definitely like to be always a part of, you know, the education system. I am in NEP Assam. And thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Hazarika. That was indeed an insightful session. And with this, we conclude day one of extremely thought-provoking and enriching presentations. And I think every single session and every single sub-theme made us learn something more. And that's what this conference is all about, learning and creating indelible memories. Before we conclude, we would like to have a session of felicitation for our keynote speaker as well as our reflection speaker and Srimati Rama Sharma. And for this, I request Shri K.K. Chaudhary, ex-director, CBSE, to come on stage and do the honors. we begin the round of felicitation with a big round of applause. Let's greet Srimati Rama Sharma, ex-director, Media and PR, CBSE. Put your hands together for Srimati Sarita Yadav, UNESCO, Delhi. A big round of applause for Dr. Maithili Hazarika. Thank you, respected guests. Thank you, dignitaries. Thank you, presenters. And most importantly, thank you, participants. As goes the saying, every ending is followed by a new beginning. We too have reached the conclusion of day one of the National Teachers Conference. But we part ways hoping to meet tomorrow again, continuing this incredible journey of learning and sharing. Have a wonderful evening ahead, respected educators. The Guwahati city is waiting for you. Thank you.